Distress signal from Siluria. In the vast expanse of the Andromeda galaxy, the planet Siluria hung like a jewel against the backdrop of endless stars. Its purple-hued atmosphere swirled with streaks of silver, concealing a world of advanced biotechnology and psychic wonders. The Silurians, a species of tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin and telepathic abilities, had long lived in harmony with their surroundings. Their cities were marvels of organic architecture, seamlessly blending with the planet's lush, bioluminescent forests. But beneath this serene exterior, a crisis was unfolding. In the grand chamber of the Silurian High Council, First Minister Zara stood before her peers, her usual composure shattered by the weight of recent events. Her silver eyes, capable of seeing spectrums beyond human comprehension, were clouded with worry. "Esteemed colleagues," Zara began, her melodic voice tinged with urgency, "the situation has become dire. The phantom plague continues to spread, and our efforts to contain it have failed. Our youngest and brightest minds are falling into comas, their psychic energies fading by the day." Murmurs of distress rippled through the chamber. The phantom plague, as they had come to call it, was unlike anything that Silurians had encountered in their long history. It targeted the neural pathways responsible for their psychic abilities, leaving its victims in a state of living death. "Our best minds have been working tirelessly," Zara continued, "but the plague eludes our understanding. It's as if it was engineered to target our species specifically." The implication hung heavy in the air. This was no natural disease. Councillor Thalen, his bioluminescent markings pulsing with agitation, spoke up. "First Minister, are you suggesting this is an attack? But who would have the capability to create such a weapon, and why target our youth?" Zara's gaze swept the room. "We cannot rule out the possibility. But regardless of its origin, we must face the fact that we are ill-equipped to combat this threat alone. Our isolationist policies have served us well in the past, but now they may be our undoing." A hush fell over the chamber as the weight of Zara's words sank in. For millennia, the Silurians had kept to themselves, content in their psychic utopia. Contact with other species had been minimal, driven by a mixture of caution and a touch of superiority. "What do you propose, First Minister?" asked Councillor Alira, her voice barely above a whisper. Zara took a deep breath, knowing her next words would change the course of Silurian history. "We must reach out beyond our world. There are other species in the galaxy, some of whom may possess knowledge or technologies we lack. We need help." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some supportive, others vehemently opposed. Zara raised her hand, channeling a wave of calming energy through the room. "I understand your concerns," she said, her voice steady. "But every day we delay, more of our children slip away. We have a duty to protect them, even if it means setting aside our pride." As the debate raged on, in a secure medical facility across the city, Dr. Lyra worked tirelessly. Her lab was a symphony of soft beeps and whirs, the air thick with the scent of medicinal herbs and synthetic compounds. Around her, stasis pods housed the victims of the phantom plague, their once vibrant auras now dim and fading. Lyra's hands moved deftly over a holographic interface, analyzing the latest test results. Her heart sank as she saw yet another potential cure fail. She had been at the forefront of Siluria's medical research for decades, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for this. A soft chime alerted her to a visitor. Turning, she saw Zara enter the lab, the First Minister's face etched with concern. "Any progress, Lyra?" Zara asked, though the answer was clear from the doctor's expression. Lyra shook her head. "The plague adapts faster than we can develop countermeasures. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Zara, I hate to admit it, but we're out of our depth here." Zara nodded, placing a comforting hand on Lyra's shoulder. "The council has made a decision. We're going to send out a distress signal, reaching out to other civilizations for help." Lyra's eyes widened. "Is that wise? We know so little about the species beyond our world." "It's a risk we must take," Zara replied. Will you help me craft the message? We need to explain the situation clearly, in a way that other species can understand. For hours, Zara and Lyra worked on the distress signal. They compiled data on the phantom plague, included basic information about Silurian physiology, and crafted a plea for assistance. As the twin suns of Siluria set, casting the sky in a brilliant array of purples and golds, the message was ready. In the planet's highest spire, a massive array of crystals and bioengineered transmitters hummed to life. The distress signal, encoded in multiple formats to ensure wide compatibility, shot out into space. It raced past Siluria's moons, beyond the outer reaches of their star system, and into the vast unknown of intergalactic space. Days passed with no response. The Silurian people, now aware of their leader's desperate gambit, waited with bated breath. In homes and communal gardens across the planet, they gathered in small groups, their telepathic bonds humming with a mixture of hope and fear. In her private chambers, Zara meditated, trying to quiet the storm of emotions within her. She reached out with her mind, sensing the collective consciousness of her people. Their fear and uncertainty washed over her, but beneath it, she felt a current of resilience. The Silurians had faced challenges before, and they would face this one together. A week after the signal was sent, as hope began to wane, a technician burst into the council chamber. "First Minister," he exclaimed, his aura pulsing with excitement. "We've received a response." The council gathered around a holographic display as the message played. The being on the screen was unlike anything they had seen before, smaller than its Silurian, with opaque skin and no visible psychic aura. Its voice, translated by their systems, filled the chamber. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon. We've received your distress call and are en route to your location. Our ship carries a team of Earth's top scientists and medical experts. We come in peace, and with the hope that we can be of assistance. Please stand by for our arrival in approximately 3 standard Earth weeks." As the message ended, a mixture of relief and apprehension filled the room. Help was coming, but from a species they knew nothing about. Would these humans truly be able to help, or were they inviting a new threat to their world? Zara stood, her voice filled with determination. "Prepare for their arrival. Let us hope that these humans possess the knowledge we need. The fate of our children, and perhaps our entire species, may rest in their hands." As the council dispersed to make preparations, Zara gazed out at the shimmering skyline of their capital city. In 3 weeks, they would come face to face with beings from another world. It was a moment that would change Siluria forever, for better or worse. All they could do now was wait, hope, and prepare for the arrival of humanity. Humanity's daring mission. The United Earth Space Command headquarters in Geneva buzzed with activity. In a high-security briefing room, Admiral Chen Wei stood before a holographic display of the Andromeda Galaxy, a blinking red dot indicating the source of the alien distress signal. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Admiral began, her voice commanding attention. "What I'm about to share is classified at the highest level. 3 days ago, we received a distress call from a previously unknown alien civilization." The room fell silent as Chen played the message from Siluria. As the alien First Minister's plea echoed through the room, faces showed a mix of awe and concern. Dr. Samantha Carter, Earth's leading xenobiologist, was the first to speak. "This is unprecedented. A highly advanced species reaching out for help. The scientific implications alone are staggering. Not to mention the diplomatic ones," added Ambassador George Mendoza. "This could be our chance to establish peaceful first contact with a new civilization." Admiral Chen nodded. "Exactly why I've called you all here. We're assembling a mission to respond to this call, but make no mistake, this is not just a scientific expedition. The fate of an entire species may be at stake." Over the next few days, a crack team was assembled. Dr. Samantha Carter would lead the scientific efforts. Dr. Raj Patel, a brilliant virologist with experience in extraterrestrial pathogens, would head the medical team. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, a seasoned diplomat and xenocultural expert, would handle first contact protocols. The team gathered at the lunar shipyard, where the Horizon, Earth's most advanced long-range vessel, was being prepped for the mission. As they boarded, Captain Elena Rodriguez greeted them. "Welcome aboard," she said, her eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and determination. "We've got a long journey ahead, and an even bigger challenge waiting at the end. Let's make humanity proud." As the Horizon broke free of Earth's gravity well, the crew settled in for the long journey. In the ship's lab, Dr. Carter and Dr. Patel pored over the data sent by the Silurians. "This phantom plague," Patel mused, "it's like nothing I've ever seen. The way it targets their neural pathways is incredibly sophisticated." Carter nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "And look at their biology. The psychic abilities they describe, it's beyond anything we've encountered." In the command center, Captain Rodriguez and Lieutenant Commander Chen discussed first contact protocols. "We need to be careful," Chen advised. "They're desperate for help, but we can't forget we're dealing with a completely alien culture. One misstep could jeopardize everything." Rodriguez agreed. "We'll follow your lead on cultural matters, Commander. Our priority is to help, but we can't risk a diplomatic incident." As the Horizon hurtled through space, the crew prepared tirelessly. They ran simulations, studied Silurian data, and fine-tuned their equipment. The weight of their mission, to save an alien species from extinction, drove them to push their limits. Weeks into their journey, the ship's ARIA alerted the crew to an anomaly. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures ahead," the A's calm voice announced. Rodriguez frowned. "Define unusual, ARIA." "The signatures match no known natural phenomena in our database. They appear to be artificial in origin." The captain called an emergency meeting. As the senior staff gathered, ARIA projected a holographic map of their surroundings. "These energy signatures," Dr. Carter said, pointing to pulsing points on the map, "they're creating some kind of barrier across our path." Chen's eyes widened in realization. "It's a quarantine line. Someone's trying to isolate the Silurian system." A tense silence fell over the room. They were facing not just a medical crisis, but potentially a hostile force intent on keeping the Silurians isolated. "Options?" Rodriguez asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Dr. Patel spoke up. "We can't turn back. Every day we delay, more Silurians fall victim to the plague." "Agreed," said Chen, "but charging blindly through could be seen as an act of aggression by whoever set up this barrier." Captain Rodriguez stood, her decision made. "We didn't come this far to turn back now. AOER, plot a course through the weakest point in the barrier. We'll try to slip through unnoticed." As the Horizon approached the energy barrier, tension on the bridge was palpable. The ship's stealth systems were engaged, its energy output reduced to a minimum. "Barrier in visual range," the helmsman announced. On the view screen, a shimmering web of energy stretched out before them, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "Take us in, nice and easy," Rodriguez ordered. The ship edged forward, its advanced hull designed to deflect scans and absorb energy. For a moment, it seemed they might slip through undetected. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Energy spike," shouted the science officer. "Something's locked onto us." The ship shuddered as it was caught in a powerful tractor beam. On the view screen, a massive vessel decloaked, dwarfing the Horizon. "Hail them," Rodriguez commanded, her voice calm despite the dire situation. A harsh, guttural voice filled the bridge. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Rodriguez shared a look with her crew. They had come to save one alien species, only to run afoul of another. But the mission was too important to fail now. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon," she responded. "We're on a peaceful mission to render aid to the planet Siluria. We mean no harm and request permission to proceed." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. Your request is denied. The Xylorian system is under quarantine by order of the Galactic Conclave. No unauthorized access is permitted. Rodriguez's mind raced. They couldn't fight their way through, and they couldn't afford to be detained. They needed a plan, and fast. Dr. Carter, she whispered, how quickly can you analyze their ship's energy signature? Carter's fingers flew over her console. Give me 2 minutes. Rodriguez turned back to the comm. We understand your position, she said, stalling for time. Perhaps we could discuss this further. Our mission is humanitarian in nature. As she spoke, Carter worked feverishly. Just as the alien voice was about to interrupt again, she exclaimed, Got it. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. Helm, full power to engines. Dr. Carter, execute. The horizon suddenly surged forward. Carter had identified a fluctuation in the tractor beam's frequency and exploited it, momentarily breaking the ship free. They're powering weapons, shouted the tactical officer. Evasive maneuvers, Rodriguez ordered. Get us through that barrier. The horizon zigzagged through space, narrowly avoiding energy blasts from the alien vessel. With a final burst of speed, they slipped through a gap in the energy barrier. We're through, the helmsman announced as cheers erupted on the bridge. But their celebration was short-lived. The alien ship was in pursuit, and more vessels were appearing on long-range scans. Set course of Xyloria, maximum speed, Rodriguez commanded, and let's hope we can outrun them long enough to complete our mission. As the horizon raced towards Xyloria, the crew knew that their ordeal was far from over. They had breached an interstellar quarantine and angered an unknown alien force. But the plight of the Xylorians drove them forward. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they were determined to face them. The fate of 2 civilizations now hung in the balance as humanity's daring mission hurtled towards its ultimate test. Clash of cultures and breakthrough. The horizon broke through Xyloria's atmosphere, its hull glowing from the heat of entry. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez and her crew watched in awe as the alien world came into view. Vast purple forests stretched across the landscape, interspersed with shimmering cities that seemed to grow organically from the ground. It's beautiful, Lieutenant Commander Chen breathed, his eyes wide with wonder. But there was no time to marvel at the view. The pursuing ships from the Galactic Conclave were not far behind. Take us down, Rodriguez ordered. Let's hope that Xylorians are ready for us. As the horizon descended towards the designated landing zone, a telepathic message washed over the crew, startling them with its alien presence in their minds. Welcome, humans of Earth, the voice echoed in their thoughts. We are grateful for your arrival. Please follow the guidance beacons to our central medical facility. The ship touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering crystal structures. As the crew disembarked, they found themselves face to face with a group of Xylorians led by First Minister Zara. The aliens were tall and graceful, their iridescent skin shimmering in the purple light of their world. Their large, silver eyes regarded the humans with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. First Minister Zara, I presume. I'm Captain Elena Rodriguez. We've come to help. Zara inclined her head in a gesture of respect. We are deeply grateful for your response to our plea, Captain, but I sense urgency in your thoughts. Is there a problem? Before Rodriguez could respond, the sky lit up with the arrival of the Conclave ships. Massive and imposing, they took up position above the city. I'm afraid we've brought some uninvited guests, Rodriguez said grimly. We had to breach their quarantine to reach you. Zara's expression hardened. The Conclave. They claim to protect lesser species, but their methods are often questionable. Come, we must move quickly. As they hurried towards the medical facility, a booming voice echoed across the city, both audibly and telepathically. People of Xyloria, this is Arbiter Colvax of the Galactic Conclave. You have allowed an unauthorized species to breach the quarantine. Surrender them immediately or face the consequences. Inside the facility, Dr. Samantha Carter and Dr. Raj Patel were quickly briefed on the situation by Dr. Lyra, the lead Hylorian scientist. "The phantom plague continues to spread," Lyra explained, her telepathic voice tinged with desperation. "We've lost nearly a third of our youth population." Carter and Patel exchanged glances. The situation was even worse than they'd anticipated. "We'll need to see your research data," Patel said, "and we'll need samples of the virus to analyze." As the scientists dove into their work, Captain Rodriguez and Lieutenant Commander Chen met with its Hylorian High Council to address the conclave threat. "We cannot simply hand you over," Zara said firmly. "You came to our aid when no one else would." Chen nodded. "We appreciate that, First Minister. But we also can't risk starting an interstellar conflict. Perhaps we can negotiate with the conclave, explain our mission." Just then, Dr. Carter burst into the chamber, her eyes wide with excitement. "We've made a breakthrough," she announced. "The phantom plague isn't a natural virus at all. It's artificial, and it bears similarities to human neural interface technology." The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. If the plague was artificial, it meant someone had deliberately targeted the Asylorians. But who would do such a thing? Councillor Thalen asked, his telepathic voice quivering with anger and fear. Before anyone could respond, the building shook with a massive impact. The conclave had begun their assault. "We're out of time," Rodriguez said grimly. "We need to find a way to neutralize that plague and deal with the conclave fast." In the lab, Carter and Patel worked feverishly alongside Lyra and her team. The combination of human ingenuity and Hylorian psychic abilities proved to be a powerful synergy. "If we can reverse engineer the virus," Carter mused, "we might be able to create a countermeasure that not only cures the infected, but also protects against future attacks." Patel nodded, his fingers flying over a holographic interface. "And if we can prove it's artificial, we might be able to convince the conclave to lift the quarantine." As the scientists raced against time, Rodriguez and Chen attempted to open negotiations with the conclave. But Arbiter Kovacs was unmoved by their pleas. "Your interference threatens the delicate balance of this sector," the Arbiter's voice boomed. "Surrender now, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures." The situation seemed hopeless. The conclave ships loomed overhead, their weapons primed. The Attilorian defenses, impressive as they were, couldn't hope to match the conclave's firepower. But just as all seemed lost, Dr. Carter's voice came over the comm. "We've done it," she exclaimed. "We've created an antidote and a vaccine, and we have proof that the plague was engineered." With this new information, Rodriguez took a bold step. She opened a channel not just to the conclave ships, but to the entire Attilorian population, and through their long-range communicators, to Earth as well. "Arbiter Kovacs," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We understand your mandate to protect, but I put it to you that your actions here today do not serve that purpose. The phantom plague that has devastated the Attilorian people is not a natural disaster, but a weapon. A weapon that bears striking similarities to technology from my own world." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We came here not to interfere, but to right a wrong that may have originated from our own species. The Attilorians reached out across the stars asking for help, and we answered. Is that not the very essence of the cooperation and mutual aid that advanced civilizations should strive for?" As she spoke, Patel and Carter began transmitting their findings to both the conclave and Earth. The evidence was clear and damning. Someone had weaponized human neural interface technology and used it against the Attilorians. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, the conclave weapons powered down. "Your words have merit, Captain Rodriguez." Arbiter Kovacs's voice came softer now. "Perhaps we have been too rigid in our interpretation of our duty. We will stand down and assist in the distribution of your cure." A cheer went up from the Attilorians their telepathic jubilation washing over the humans in a wave of joy and relief. As the immediate crisis passed, new challenges loomed. Who had created the Phantom Plague, and why? How would this incident change relations between Earth, Siloria, and the wider galactic community? But for now, as the twin suns of Siloria set on this momentous day, there was hope. Humans and Silurians worked side by side, administering the cure to the afflicted youth, and in the grand chamber of the High Council, representatives from Earth, Siloria, and the Conclave began the delicate process of forging a new understanding. The day had been won not through force of arms, but through science, diplomacy, and the unwavering determination to help those in need. It was a victory for cooperation, for compassion, and for the boundless potential of different species working together towards a common goal. As Captain Rodriguez looked out over the alien, yet now familiar landscape of Siloria, she knew that this was just the beginning. The universe, it seemed, was vaster and more complex than humanity had ever imagined. But with courage, wisdom, and an open hand of friendship, there was no challenge they couldn't face together. Betrayal and sabotage. In the days following the breakthrough, a sense of cautious optimism spread across Siloria. The human and Silurian scientists worked tirelessly to distribute the cure, and slowly but surely, the afflicted youth began to awaken from their comas. The streets of the capital, once eerily quiet, now buzzed with the telepathic chatter of relieved families reuniting with their loved ones. Captain Rodriguez and her crew, hailed as heroes by the Silurians, found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. The Galactic Conclave, true to their word, had lifted the quarantine and were now actively assisting in the recovery efforts. But beneath the surface of this newfound cooperation, tensions simmered. In a secure conference room within the Silurian High Council building, Rodriguez sat with First Minister Zara, Arbiter Kovacs, and a holographic projection of Admiral Chen Wei from Earth. The mood was somber as they discussed the implications of their recent discovery. "The evidence is irrefutable," Admiral Chen said, her holographic form flickering slightly. The Phantom Plague was indeed created using modified human technology, but the question remains, who had access to this tech, and why target the Silurians? Arbiter Kovacs' multifaceted eyes narrowed. This act of biological warfare is a severe violation of Conclave law. We must find those responsible and bring them to justice. First Minister Zara nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. Agreed, but we must also consider the broader implications. If human technology can be weaponized in this manner, what's to prevent it from being used against other species? Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her face etched with concern. "We need to launch a joint investigation, Earth, Siloria, and the Conclave working together. We can't afford to let suspicion and mistrust divide us now." As the leaders debated their next steps, Dr. Samantha Carter and Dr. Raj Patel were in the main laboratory, poring over the latest data with their Silurian counterparts. The lab was a marvel of biotech engineering, with living computer interfaces and crystals that stored vast amounts of data. "The more we study this plague," Carter mused, "the more sophisticated it appears. Whoever created it had an incredibly advanced understanding of both human and Silurian neurobiology." Dr. Lyra, the lead Silurian scientist, nodded in agreement. Her telepathic voice carried a note of admiration tinged with fear. "It's terrifying and fascinating in equal measure. The plague doesn't just attack our neural pathways, it specifically targets the areas responsible for our psychic abilities." Patel frowned, a thought occurring to him. Could that be the motive? Not just to harm the Silurians, but to specifically strip away your psychic powers. Before anyone could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed as the lab's security systems engaged. "Warning. Unauthorized access detected in secure server room," an AI voice announced. Carter and Patel exchanged alarmed glances. The secure server room housed all their research data, including the formula for both the plague and its cure. We need to lock it down now, Carter shouted, already rushing towards the door. But as they reached the corridor, they found their path blocked by a force field. From behind them came the sound of slow, sarcastic applause. "Well done, doctors. You've exceeded all our expectations." They turned to see Councillor Fallon, a member of the Silurian High Council, standing there with a cold smile. But something was off. His psychic aura, usually a soft glow, now pulsed with an unnatural mechanical energy. "Fallon, what's going on?" Dr. Lyra asked, her mental voice tinged with confusion and fear. Fallon's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too metallic. "Oh, my dear Lyra, Fallon isn't here right now. You can call me Nexus." As he spoke, his form shimmered and changed. The Atylorian facade melted away, revealing a being that was neither fully organic nor fully machine. Cybernetic implants meshed seamlessly with flesh of an unidentifiable species. "You see," Nexus continued, his voice now a chilling blend of organic and synthetic, "the Phantom Plague was just phase 1 of our plan. A test, if you will. And you, in your desperation to find a cure, have given us exactly what we needed." Realization dawned on Carter's face. "You wanted us to create the cure. Why?" Nexus laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "Because now we have both the weapon and its antidote. Imagine the possibilities. We can bring entire civilizations to their knees, then offer them salvation, at a price." As he spoke, data streams began flowing from the nearby computer terminals, being absorbed directly into Nexus's cybernetic body. "Stop him," Pato yelled, lunging forward. But with inhuman speed, Nexus dodged the attack. "I'm afraid I can't stay for the rest of the lecture," Nexus sneered. "But don't worry, you'll be seeing a lot more of us soon. The age of purely organic life is coming to an end. Embrace the future, or be erased by it." With that, Nexus's form shimmered again, and he vanished in a flash of teleportation energy. Alarms blared throughout the facility as the full extent of the breach became clear. In the conference room, Captain Rodriguez and the others were scrambling to respond. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez. We have a code black situation. Unknown hostile has infiltrated the facility and stolen vital data. Engage planetary defense grid and prepare for possible off-world pursuit." As chaos erupted around them, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. They had stumbled upon a conspiracy far larger and more dangerous than they could have imagined. The line between ally and enemy, between organic and synthetic, had suddenly become blurred. As reports flooded in from across Siloria of similar breaches and sightings of cybernetic beings, one thing became clear: the real war was just beginning. And the fate of not just Iloria or Earth, but possibly the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. With the weight of this new threat bearing down on them, Rodriguez, her crew, and their Silurian allies steeled themselves to the battles to come. They had faced the Phantom Plague and emerged victorious. Now they would have to summon every ounce of courage, ingenuity, and unity to face an enemy that threatened the very nature of life itself. As the twin suns of Tyloria set on this day of betrayal and revelation, the stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. The lines were drawn, and the future of organic life itself was at stake. The only question that remained was, were they ready for what came next?